This is the Big Deal Podcast, brought to you and powered by New Covenant Baptist Church in Albertville, Alabama. And on this podcast, we're asking the question, what's the big deal about all things Bible, theology, and culture? I'm Justin.
I'm Brad.
Welcome to the Big Deal. Hey, Brad.
Hey,
How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah?
Yep. I
Drinking
can't complain.
our prime.
Yeah, because I'm in my prime.
Yeah, this is our new sponsor, everybody. I'm just kidding. It's not really our sponsor,
They
but
don't
it is
sponsor.
delicious.
We like to get hopped up on caffeine and then do these podcasts.
That's the only way you can do it. Like, I'm not funny enough ever, like on my own, but when I drink a lot of caffeine, I get a little bit funny.
Yeah, there we go.
You know,
to being funny.
yeah, and only 10 calories, man.
Oh.
Like caffeine.
You drink 27 of them.
Delicious. So I got a question for you to start our pod today. Break that ice up real good.
All right, what is it?
All right. In honor of the Olympics, which just finished, right?
Yes.
The 2024 Olympics, if you're listening to this in another year. What sport would you have the best chance of winning in the Olympics right now?
None of them.
I just mean the
okay.
highest chance.
Highest chance?
It might be a 3% chance.
Something.
but-
No, it's
yeah.
much lower than that.
Yeah.
It'd have to be some sport where you could get like fantastically lucky.
Uh-huh.
Like maybe air pistol shooting or archery. It'd have to be something like that. Because I do archery. And so I shoot my compound bow.
Yeah.
There is a infinitesimally small chance I could win if everybody else just died.
if like a wind came,
Yeah.
like
I don't
blowing
think
through,
people
yeah.
realize how athletic these people are.
They're all athletic, man. Yeah.
Yeah, not they're almost superhuman.
Yeah.
I watched some of the weightlifting stuff that they did. Mm-hmm. I don't understand it. Like I don't understand what's happening before my eyes.
They're so
because
strong,
I am
man.
fairly strong,
Yeah, you're pretty strong.
and people were putting my deadlift over their head,
I know it. Yeah.
and like I'm just looking like I'm fixing to poop myself picking this thing up, and this dude's like cleans
Yeah,
it. And I'm
cleans
like,
it.
what just happened?
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
incredible. I'm hyped out of my mind about it.
Yeah, man. They're impressive. No
If
doubt.
that person grabbed you, you're not getting away.
You'd go through a wall.
Yeah,
He could throw you through a wall.
right through the wall.
Yeah. But what's that? The strongest guy from Georgia?
Yeah,
Country, Georgia?
not Georgia, USA,
Yeah,
but
Georgia, the country.
Georgia, the country.
Yeah, that dude is nuts.
He's
man.
strong.
He's like the strongest guy in the world for like 10 years or something.
Yeah, maybe ever.
Yeah, his is like his third gold or
Like
something.
we don't
Yeah.
know if anybody has ever been stronger than this dude,
Yeah.
except Samson. Maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah, but everyone was tiny and malnourished back then.
Yeah, maybe.
He might have been as big as you.
He could have been. Oh man, trying to. So yeah, I have no chance at winning at anything in the Olympics.
Yeah.
Breakdancing. I saw that they were pretty bad. Oh,
I feel like I might actually stand
that's
a chance
my
on
chance.
breakdancing.
I can still do a backspin better than some of the people I saw. I was like, what is this fish flopping nonsense?
Yeah, it's hard to believe that breakdancing is an Olympic sport.
It crushes my spirit.
How
that
is breakdance an Olympic sport and not disc golf? Come on.
or jujitsu.
Yeah, or jiu-jitsu.
That is 100
Jiu-jitsu is huge.
Huge worldwide. And we got breakdancing.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. And I heard boxing may not be in the 2028 one.
Really?
I don't know.
After all the,
I don't know if that's what
testosterone
it is.
flowing.
I don't know if that's what happened.
I don't know either.
But it just, some parts of the
I know.
Olympics don't make any sense. Swimming doesn't make any
There's
sense.
a lot of like controversial, sensational stuff. Kind of like everything gets drawn into like the.
They got to sell it, man.
Yeah,
You gotta
the
get
left to
people
right
watching.
kind
Yeah.
of cultural war going
But
on.
I used to be a swimmer. 0% chance I can win. I know
They're
that.
so fast, man.
Yeah, I was 5th in state when I was like 11 at the butterfly.
I think I could keep up with them in a kayak, which is ridiculous.
I'm not sure you could.
I could keep
Depends
up.
on how far.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You'd have trouble turning around.
Yeah, they get the better lunch.
I know.
Yeah, than,
I
yeah.
know. But it's kind of funny, and a friend of mine told me this a long time ago, and I can't get it out of my head about
Yeah.
the swimming. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, let's do the butterfly and see who's the fastest. He's like, why are we doing this? Why is it taking so long? Because in track and field, it's just whoever gets down there fast, they don't have backwards running 100 meters and sidestep running 100 meters and do the worm down there, hopping on one foot, so you can do 100 meters the fastest. Swimming's like, let's do a butterfly. Okay, who's the fastest at the break? Who can swim the fastest on their back?
That's true.
Some swimmer's gonna meet me in the parking lot.
They just keep on like, you gotta have enough TV coverage and stuff, make that money, and so they just keep adding stuff to the swimming.
But meanwhile, we don't get to watch archery.
Yeah, I know, right?
I mean, come on.
I never saw any of the archery. Yeah.
No, I just saw hey, this is the winning shot, and it's like, I don't know. But we got to see people backwards swim for like 3 hours.
The swimming and then the gymnastics stuff. Now, those gymnasts are stinking strong, man.
Maybe the best athletes in the world.
Yeah, they are nuts.
Yeah.
They are so strong.
The feats of strength.
Yeah.
Wow. I just...
The control.
So I got this exercise that we do sometimes. It's like you use the Olympic rings and you like sit on your hind end and lean back and you pull yourself up.
Yeah.
It's like helps you with some stuff. I don't know. People do it, so I do.
Pull-up kind of
it's
thing.
kind of a pull-up.
Yeah.
And it's not easy.
It's a very controlled pull-up.
Yeah.
Super controlled pull-up.
It's not that easy. And I watch these people do like these iron cross things.
Oh, man.
Where, they pull themselves up parallel.
So steady.
And they're not even like shaky.
Yep.
I'm like, what?
They're so strong. Yep.
Crazy.
Yep. Very impressive. Yep.
Impressive.
No doubt. So this is the Big Deal podcast, and we're asking this question: what's the big deal? We're going through the narrative of the Bible, kind of like looking at like what's the big deal about the creation? What's the big deal about Adam and Eve and the Garden of Eden and Noah and so forth? And we've landed in Genesis chapter 12, which is a big deal.
But maybe, I don't want to say the biggest deal.
It's not. It's in the top.
It's a big deal.
The way I kind of think about it sometimes is that there are these moments in the scriptures that are like hinge points in the story, right? Like it's going in this direction, and this is just such a hinge for the entire story of the Bible. Like everything changes because of this. This happens, and this is one of those.
Almost Paul's entire arguments in the New Testament revolve around God's relationship to Abraham.
Yeah,
that's what
we're talking about is Abraham. Yeah,
is that what I said?
I didn't. I just said Genesis 12.
Spoilered it.
It's spoilered. This is the story of Abraham.
Yeah,
and he is our father,
mm-hmm.
right? Father Abraham, right?
Yes,
and. So much of the rest of the story of the Bible relies on the promises made to Abraham from God and how that plays out in Israel's history and the redemption of Gentiles like us. Are you a Gentile?
Yes.
Okay. Zoe yesterday morning in Sunday school said that she thinks you might be a little Jewish.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I don't
That's
know
his daughter. I have no idea what that meant either. I was like, okay, Zoe.
She probably got confused with some Ancestry.com thing. I don't know.
I told her, I was like, we all probably have a little bit of Jewish in us,
Maybe. I don't know.
It's just, they got
some
spread
Jewish
out
listener
everywhere.
just went, turned it right off like, oi, these goys. Oi, Gavalt.
So, the story of Abraham is just central for all these things, right? And so we're going to look at this, and Abraham comes right after a genealogy, really, from Shem, the son of Noah, and it just tracks it at the end of chapter 11 all the way to Terah, and then his son Abraham, or Abram. He's
Abram at the
right
time.
now.
Yeah, Abram means exalted father.
Father of nation.
Father, I thought it meant exalted.
Is
father.
nations.
Are you sure?
Is nations of his father.
I'll have to look at my cliff notes.
Yeah.
I'm almost sure. But I know that Abraham means father of many.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll get to
Look it
that.
up real quick. Yeah.
Look it up.
Yeah, we have technology.
Oh, yeah. You call this technology?
Avram. I don't have the breakdown.
We can agree that Ab means father. That's 50% agreement. That's Hall of Fame stuff in baseball.
What is wrong?
Is a glottal.
Is peoples, right? Let's see. Getting my Hebrew out. Whatever.
I thought yams was people. Yam. It's easy. Okay, for those
I don't know.
non-Hebrew people, like it's easy to get a massive word change with one consonant.
Yeah, I know.
Because they're normally 2 or 3 consonant words. Anyways,
I can't find it, man. I can't.
Pop it up on the YouTube screen later and say Brad was right.
Yeah, I might try to figure that out. All right. So, anyways, this guy named Abram, he's an important character, and he comes from Ur of the Chaldeans.
Yes.
Right? Which is Babylon.
Yes.
Which is pretty wild.
It is.
So
on the plains of Shinar.
Yeah.
Which is also Babylon.
Abraham is the guy Abram at this point, he's the guy who the nation Israel comes from, right? He's like the father of them.
And he's from Babylon.
And he's actually Babylonian.
Yes.
Yeah, that is, I think, a important theme that is sometimes forgotten conveniently.
Yeah.
I
don't think people do it on purpose.
I'm not talking about now.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
In the ancient world, like conveniently forgotten by the Israelites.
Yeah.
Like, especially post-exile.
Yeah.
It's like we are exalted different. God's going to wipe the nations out. Babylon's going to be destroyed, all this kind of stuff. And it's like, don't forget, you came from there.
Yeah, it was Ur of the Chaldeans. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was from Babylon.
Yeah, Chaldean or Chaldea is the same as Babylon.
Same.
And Ur is a city in Babylon. They've actually found Ur.
Yeah.
You can Google.
There's a ziggurat there.
There's a ziggurat there. You can Google
which is a big tower built up to heaven, so that you won't be scattered.
We just talked about that. Tower of
yeah.
Babel last week. You can Google Ur in Babylon, and you'll see pictures and stuff.
And it's not in Babylon anymore. They've moved it to Iraq.
They've moved it.
Wait, no, Iraq is
modern
Babylon.
Day, modern day. Yeah. So Abram, I keep on messing his name.
It's okay, same guy.
He's the same guy. His name gets changed later on.
He probably got confused.
He gets called out of there, right?
Yes, he goes west.
He does. So verse 31 of chapter 11 says, Terah, Abram's father, took his son Abram, his grandson Lot, Haran's son, and his daughter-in-law Sarai, his son Abram's wife, and they set out together from Ur of the Chaldeans to go to the land of Canaan. So Terah's already on the way to Canaan.
Yes, they stop in Haran.
But then when they came to Haran,
Haran,
they settled there.
Yes.
Terah lived 205 years and died in Haran. So I guess that's kind of in between, the Canaan.
He didn't, as far as we know, he didn't have any divine call. He
That's
just
right.
took off.
He just
probably housing had just gotten outrageous in Ur.
Interest rates got real high.
This is getting too crowded. I got to move west. Yeah.
And then you get to chapter 12, and this is like a poem.
It is a poem. It's not even like one. It is one.
That's right. It's just exactly like a poem.
It is exactly like a poem. Yeah.
The Lord, Yahweh, said to Abram, go from your land, your relatives, and your father's house to the land that I will show you. It's convenient that it's all land instead of earth. Isn't that fun?
I'm not sure that 12:1 has land, though. I'm going to have to look it up.
Let's get the Hebrew out.
Yeah.
You don't think it says land?
It may. It may not say ours there, because my translation says country. And we're going to see. Where's my glasses?
The Lord said to Avram, go. Aretz. Yeah.
Let's see if I got long enough arms. Lord,
my Aretz guy.
From the Aretzaka. Yeah, it's Aretz.
Yeah.
See what they do? Translated it country there.
Huh. Though it's
this is NASB, and it says go forth from your country.
But it's also a city in northern Mesopotamia. Iran. Yeah. Interesting. It's just
I needed more words. They had less words back in old days.
From is it's ours. It's the land. From your land. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you. I will curse anyone who treats you with contempt, and all the peoples on earth will be blessed through you. Okay, that's a lot, man. That's a big deal right there.
Yeah.
So this is God speaking down from heaven to Abram
in a poem.
And you're gonna head out from Haran, from your Babylon, roots, You're going to go somewhere. You're going to go to this land. I will show you.
I will show you. He didn't even know where he's going.
Know. He's just told to go.
Yeah. And so Sarai is Sarah. Her name gets changed too.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, it's weird. So just as a fun fact, all the prophets speak in poetry.
Yeah, they do.
Almost every time God gives a thing to the prophets or the prophets speak on behalf of God, it's almost always a poem.
Isn't that wild?
Most of Isaiah is a poem.
Why? Why do you think that is?
Well, what's the nature of poetry would be one good thing to ask. And so poetry is meant to evoke a feeling that is hard to get at through narrative. So you're trying to say something to evoke something in as not necessarily few words as possible, but you're trying to describe a feeling like melancholy or sadness.
Yeah.
And poetry is made for that. And so in prophetic speaking, you're trying to say something profound, and that's what poetry's for.
Okay.
I think.
Well, this is profound, okay?
Yeah.
Certainly. And it's like when we say poetry, it's not like all rhymey and stuff like
That's
English
not how
poetry.
Hebrew poetry works.
Yeah. It's like, what they say, it's like paralleled and stuff.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
like paralleled. Sometimes they do it with acrostic, like letters
Yeah.
of the alphabet. First one will be A.
Yeah.
If it was English, then it'd be B, then C.
Yeah.
And sometimes
Hebrew-
it's like like Shakespeare's iambic pentameter when he
Yeah,
speaks.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, boy, that was a big one.
That's
It's like
another-
5
yeah.
syllable type stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's like syllables. Doot,
Yeah.
doot, 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 doot. Like 3
Yeah.
words on 3
Yeah.
words on 3 words.
So really what it comes down to is it's like a very intentional way of saying something. Like you're being careful.
Being careful.
In,
You're
in
trying to.
Hebrew, that's how it works, you know.
Yep.
So, and that's what this is. God speaking to him in this poetry lines, and he says, "I will make you into a great nation. I'll bless you, and I'll make your name great." And there's a lot of themes in there that are already developing so far in the Bible. The blessing, right? That's all the way back from the beginning, isn't it? Right? God, what the first thing He said to humans, "I'll bless you." Be fruitful, multiply, right? When Noah gets off the boat and we start all this all over again, God blessed him, said, "Be fruitful, multiply." So the theme of blessing is kind of running through here. This is like another, when you see that pop up, it's like this is another restart in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
This is another opportunity to be an Adam or a Noah.
Yeah.
We're going back to the land,
Yes. Going back to the land.
the garden.
And he is going to be a conduit of blessing
Yep.
for the whole earth,
Yep.
or everybody, all
Yep.
the peoples.
The blessing's going to multiply.
Yes.
Right? It's going to happen.
But the purpose of Abraham's call out is so that he can be a blessing
Yeah.
to all peoples.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the point.
Yeah.
And so it was not meant to just be Israel.
Yeah.
He's not Israel.
That's what you're right. It says all the peoples on earth will
Yes.
be blessed through you.
Yes.
Yeah.
All the peoples. Everybody.
Everybody. Yeah.
It was never meant
Even
to
the
be.
hillbillies and rednecks,
Even
all the way to
hillbill-
Alabama.
all the way to Appalachia.
Yeah.
Praise the Lord. Praise God. Yeah. So it's
Amen.
yeah. That's the purpose.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it was never meant to be insular.
Yeah.
It was meant to be. And Abram is not Israel. He is the father of he's the grandfather of the guy who becomes Israel.
Yeah, that's right.
But he himself is Babylonian, who was a transplant to Haran, who wandered about in the Promised Land.
Yeah.
And how old was he when he left?
He was old.
75.
75 years old. Yeah, that's right.
You're telling me there's a chance. I can still do something great.
Yeah. 75 years old, man. That's
And didn't know
incredible.
where he was going.
Didn't he know where he was going?
And Sarah must have been like, where are we going? He's like, west.
I know she was like 74 or something. Well, she
Yeah.
was just a year or two younger.
Yeah,
than
she
him.
was like, where are we going? He's like, I don't know. God just told me to wander this away.
Goodness gracious.
That is if he spoke Appalachian. We just going this away. Over yonder.
Over yonder.
We're
Yeah.
going over yonder.
In Hebrews, this is an act of faith, right? When it's
Yeah. But also, think about this. Does anybody else get called out of a place to go to the Promised Land and they don't know exactly where they're going?
out of the promised land.
No. They get called out of a land to go to the Promised Land and they don't know exactly where they're
Yeah.
going. Who?
Oh, Israel does.
Oh yeah, out of
right.
Egypt.
Out of
It's the
Egypt.
same kind of thing.
Yeah, what happens to Israel when they're freed from slavery has already happened.
Yeah.
It happened with Abraham. You're right. There's a theme.
There's
themes.
these themes keep recurring. When you mean it already happened, they hadn't gotten freed yet, but like they're the
Same-
prototype.
Yeah,
and
this
so
is the
even
prototype.
in the New
You're right.
Testament,
Yeah.
God says, "Out of Egypt I have called my son." When Jesus has to run down to Egypt with Joseph and Mary when he's a baby,
Yeah.
and that's a whole nother prophetic thing we can
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
about. But yeah, it's this idea of time in the wilderness. And what happens to Jesus? First thing before he goes into
Yeah.
his ministry, he gets called out into what? The desert,
The desert. Yeah, the
for
wilderness.
40
Yeah.
days before he can go into his ministry.
Into the
So
promised
these things keep happening over
Yeah.
and over. There's a
That's
time
wild.
of I don't know, not winnowing, but a time of testing.
Testing, yeah.
A time of testing that happens to every single one of them. And it happens to Israel and it happens to Abram.
Yeah.
We're going to see that.
Oh, you're right. We're about to see. That's actually what happened. So the next story after this happens.
It's like
Right.
it's a story.
One
that-
more thing that to mention
I
before
got
we
too
get there,
excited.
though, is
Yeah.
another theme. Verse 2, I will make your name great, God. says.
Yes.
Oh.
He going to do it.
That was the big deal with the
Won't he
Tower
do
of
it?
Babylon. Won't he do it? In Babel, they were trying to make their own name great.
Yes.
And that's the whole point of that is that God is going to be the one to make names great, not
He
you,
does
right?
it. And Abram is a descendant of Name,
Yep.
of Shem.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yep.
And so this is Abram is the man.
He's the man.
He is him.
He's him. For what reason? That's another thing to
Yeah.
contemplate. Why has God grabbed this Abram guy? What's the reason given?
Well, I don't know.
There is no reason.
There's none. Yeah.
Think about that for a minute.
He's
It doesn't
just a
say
dude.
like with Noah. It says, "And Noah found favor in the
Yeah,
or
yeah.
found grace in the
Yeah,
eyes
yeah.
of God."
Mm-hmm.
Abram comes from nowhere, as far as like here's a genealogy. But there's a lot of people in that genealogy.
Yeah,
right?
it could have gone a lot of different directions.
Could have gone
Yeah,
any
yeah.
which way.
That's true.
So why God choose Abram?
I don't know.
We don't know.
Yep.
Why did he choose you?
The good purpose of his will.
Good purpose of His will.
That's what Ephesians tells
I
us.
think He chose you because your beard's awesome.
I don't know.
You'll have to check it on
I
YouTube.
think he might have chosen me despite my beard. You know.
No way.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Who knows?
He liked your glasses. I don't know.
I don't know.
But it's a good point to make though. Jokes aside, that
Yeah.
we really have no idea. It doesn't say that he's any more righteous than anybody else.
Yeah, and that's a theme too.
Yes.
in all of Scripture, there's no good reason
Later
besides
in
God's-
the thing, we're going to see that the prince or the king, the Messiah, is going to come through Judah, right?
Yep.
And if you just read the narrative and had no idea, you'd think definitely Joseph.
Yeah, certainly Joseph,
Come on,
not
Joseph.
Judah.
No, Judah's like the
awful.
worst. He's not the worst, but he's
the
bad.
worst ones got kicked off. They didn't want it to happen. To
I
them.
mean,
Yeah.
everybody else was like, "Let's kill Joseph,"
Yeah.
and Judah was like, "Let's just sell him into slavery. Let's not kill him."
all that stuff
What
with
a
his
sweet
daughter-in-law.
guy!
Yeah.
What a sweet man! He's a jerk.
Yeah. So
I mean, I'm sure he had his high points. If all that was recorded in the Bible is the jerky moves I pulled in my life, people would be
That's
like,
true.
"I don't know how this guy got to be.
Yeah.
Why haven't we shot this guy?"
have you tried to sell anyone in slavery though?
No, but I've said mean things. I've said some stuff. If it was snipped out, you'd be like, "This guy is the worst."
That does happen.
Every once in a while, I just get the shivers and
Yeah,
they
yeah.
say, "What happened?" And I'm like, "I just remembered something I said like 5 years ago, and I would like to die in this moment."
That's
But
so
anyway,
funny.
Yeah.
So they do it. Abraham heads out and he goes. He goes to Canaan. Abram passed
Mm-hmm.
through the land to the side of Shechem in verse 6 at the Oak of Moreh, which is kind of a thing that pops up over and over again.
Which tells me they're country folk.
Yeah. Turn down there
By the Oak
that
of
big old-
Mamre.
Yeah, big old oak tree.
Where does Abram live? Hey, I think he's got his tent pitched down there by the Oak of Mamre. You know that big old oak tree? We used to have the McCord Oak in Albertville. It was this massive oak that was where the elementary school was. And 7,500 generations of Albertvillians played under the oak at McCord Oak. And then when they built the football field, they tried to spare it.
Oh,
But
yeah.
they actually wound up killing it. Yeah, it's a big hoop.
That one, it's named McCord Field.
Well, it was named McCord Field not for the oak, but for the guy who they named the elementary school for.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it was the McCord Oak. It's famous. Ask any old timer Albertville, what's the McCord Oak? They'll tell you exactly where it was and that
How
they
about
played
that?
under it as a child. So yeah, that's how I know that these guys are country folk
Yeah.
because they're always by the oaks of Mamre or somewhere, Moray and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, in verse 7, the Lord Yahweh appeared to Abram and said, "To your offspring I will give this land." So this is kind of another addition to this promise.
Yep.
You know, it's going to go to your offspring also. So he built an altar there to the Lord Yahweh who had appeared to him. From there he moved on to the hill country east of Bethel and pitched his tent. With Bethel on the west and Ai on the east, he built an altar to the Lord there, and he called on the name of the Lord. Then Abram journeyed by stages to the Negev. Now, what's the Negev?
I think it's a river, right?
No,
or is it a wadi?
It's a
desert?
Yeah, it's like a desert area
Yeah.
south. Yeah, on the south side.
Is you say I? I hear
I?
people say AI. I don't
AI?
know.
It's
just
AI.
AI.
What is it in Hebrew?
Artificial intelligence.
I wonder how you pronounce
Bethel
that.
means house of God too. It's an
Yeah.
interesting thing because I think later on it says Bethel, but used to be called Luz.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So this is one of the examples where we have a more modern name of the city imposed over an older one. So how
Yeah.
did that happen?
I is probably the same.
Yeah.
It's
Well, Joshua goes to Ai, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's going to the Negev. He's on his way, right? But there
Yeah.
was a famine in the land,
There he is.
right?
Famine.
And so Abram instead goes down to Egypt to stay there for a while because the famine in the land was severe.
Yep. Well, I want to say how impressed I am with Sarai.
Yeah, tell me how
That
impressed
she
you are
does
with her.
not complain or nothing in this narrative.
Not one bit.
I can't even park at Walmart if my wife's with me without being asked, where am I going? Where am I parking?
Shout out to Amy.
I'm dead.
It's over for you,
All
man.
right, don't listen to this episode.
Hey,
But yeah.
Steph never complains about anything.
Never says, where are you going? Like, and really, it's Amy's better than me at stuff because if we're talking, which we do because we love each other. If I'm
Nice
driving,
save. That's a nice save.
no, but like
She's
if
better
I'm
than-
talking and I'm driving with Amy,
Uh-huh.
all I'm thinking of is Amy. I'll wind up at this church every single time. And she's like, we're going to Foodland. Where are you going?
Oh,
it's like,
yeah.
oh, yeah.
I go on autopilot too.
Autopilot. Where do you
Yeah.
wind up on autopilot?
I go home and I go here.
Yes,
And
exactly.
I go to the gym.
I go to the gym.
I do. I'm like, if I get on, it's 205 or something?
Yeah.
And I'm heading in that direction, I'll like pull up at the rec center every time. I'm like, what am I doing?
Why am I here?
I was trying to go home.
I hope nobody saw this. I'm so embarrassed. Yeah, I'm supposed to be going.
Yeah.
I went out
I'm in
for
the
milk.
squat rack and everything already. When I get here.
I gotta get my gains while I'm here.
So they go to Egypt, and this is a pretty wild story. Honestly, they're old, man. These are old people.
Yes.
And what does he say? When he was about to enter Egypt, he said to his wife Sarai,
Oh my gosh, this is the crazy. This is how we know they were Olympians or something.
something was going on here, guys. They are not like us.
No.
Okay? We are not the same as Abraham.
And everybody
Sarai.
keeps winding up in Egypt too. Part of
Yeah.
the narrative.
That's right.
When the going gets rough, we run off to Egypt.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the Nile.
Yeah.
So even in drought, the Nile could be counted on to flow and overflow its banks,
Yeah.
and people could still grow stuff. So
That's
it would-
why they were so successful for so
Yes,
long in
yes.
the ancient world. They had the constant water source, on the Nile.
it was the water of life down there.
Yeah. He says, when they're about to enter Egypt, he said to his wife, Sarai, look, I know what a beautiful woman you are. Look, she is
70 years old.
70, 74 years old, man.
Yeah.
And he's like, I know what a beautiful woman you are. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, this is his wife. They will kill me, but
Yeah.
let you live.
Yeah.
Please say you're my sister, so it will go well for me because of you, and my life will be spared on your account.
Yeah, there's two things about it. About this though, she is his sister.
Number one, that's true.
That's his half sister.
That's weird.
It is. But she comes from a long-lived family, and
Yeah.
she lives to be. Oh, I forgot. It's
She's
100
pretty old, though.
something.
Yeah.
130 or 40, something like that. But
Yeah.
he ain't wrong.
Yeah, she apparently is that beautiful at 74 years old. Right
Yeah,
now.
because immediately they're like, "We're taking her to the
Yeah.
harem."
So please, so what happens when Abraham entered Egypt? The Egyptians saw the Egyptians. Goodness,
Yeah.
saw that the woman was very beautiful. Pharaoh's officials saw her and praised her to Pharaoh. So the woman was taken to Pharaoh's household. He treated Abram well because of her, and Abram acquired flocks and herds, male and female donkeys, male and female slaves and camels. He basically
he sold his wife. He failed.
It's
failed.
a
But
miserable failure.
But think about the
Yeah,
narrative, right?
yeah.
Wait, this is what we're talking about here. What happens when Israel goes into the desert and
Yeah.
is on their journey to the promised land?
they fail.
They fail.
They fail horribly.
Horrible.
They
Not e-
want
it's not
the
even. It's
leaks
not even
in-
horrible.
yeah.
It's horrible.
It's horrible.
The horror. Yes. I can't believe what's crazy is they get back together. I've done some marriage counseling and some terrible stuff, right? People have done terrible things, but nobody has ever sat in my office and said, he sold me for a bunch of camels to this other dude, and I had to go live in his house. And there he was, living it up with all of his little jewels and greatness and stuff, and I'm just stuck up here in a palace with
Oh, my
a
gosh.
bunch of, and a harem.
In a harem.
He sold me into a harem.
She was one of Pharaoh's concubines.
I know it.
The Lord did not like this, though.
The Lord's like,
He struck Pharaoh and his household with severe plagues because of Abram's wife Sarai. So Pharaoh sent for Abram and said, "What have you done to me? Why didn't you tell me she was your wife?
why didn't you tell me?
Why did you say she's my sister so that I took her as my wife? Now here is your wife. Take her and go." When Pharaoh gave his men orders about him, and they sent him away with his wife and all he had. Couple things. First, I think it's worth asking, because I'm sure all the people at home, as well as me, want to know why it's okay that Abram married his sister, his half sister. Is that okay? Incest is sinful.
It's
correct?
sinful in the law.
So why is this happening?
Well, the Bible never says it's okay.
It doesn't, does it?
No comment. No comment.
That this is okay.
Yeah, it doesn't say yay or nay with this.
Yeah. This is one of those moments we've talked about where,
And what's crazy is, the pharaohs were bad to marry their sisters too.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
So apparently it didn't freak him out a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. This is one of those moments in Scripture where we talked about this a couple episodes in the past, that something happens in the narrative that we're all looking around, it's like, that's not okay. Why isn't it saying that's not okay? Why isn't the story saying that's, and they were wrong to do so?
Yeah.
And it never does. You're just supposed to know.
It's just telling us what happened.
It's just telling us what happened.
Also, one of the themes that keeps popping up, Isaac does the same thing.
He does
with
the
Rebekah.
exact same thing.
Yeah. And I think except Abimelech, who's the king, that he does this thing.
Yeah.
Tell him you're my sister, even though you're my cousin.
Yeah.
And people that's also how I know they're from Alabama.
Yeah.
But roll tide. Yeah. So I went to Alabama. I can make that joke. But anyways, anyhow, it shows that the nations are not more unrighteous than Abraham. In fact, in the Isaac and Abraham narrative, or Abram narrative, the point is that Pharaoh is actually more righteous in this moment than Abraham, and
he has
with
integrity.
Isaac. And he said, because Abraham, this ain't the last time he does it. He also goes to Abimelech.
He does. He does this exact story
same
happens
thing
again. Yeah.
But he's like, I didn't know there was fear of God in this place. Mm-hmm. And the Abimelech's like, yeah, man, we know about God. So the part of the subtle point of the narrative is God did not choose Abram because he's like this bastion of righteousness.
No, yeah.
He's a normal dude.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's worse than everybody else.
Yeah.
Although selling your wife into concubinage
It ain't great.
It's not great.
Yeah.
No, that's pretty terrible.
Yeah.
As Alabama native Charles Barkley would say, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's bad. It's bad.
Yeah. And that's why over and over again, these stories, the main point in the story is not to look at the characters involved and see the hero. It's to remember that God is faithful to people and shows them grace.
Which is why he struck Pharaoh's house.
Yeah.
Is because God is actually protecting his promise to Abram.
That's right. His word.
He has
Abram.
to do it.
Yep.
Because if Sarah gets pregnant from Pharaoh,
Yeah.
the promise is destroyed.
Yep.
And he rescues. In fact, in Abimelech's house, I hate to spoiler alert, but he makes everybody barren
Yeah.
to make sure that everybody knows that when they have a kid, this is Abraham's.
Yep. Yep. That's
God is protecting his own promise, not only to Abram, but to Sarah eventually.
Yeah.
Because he makes a promise to her.
Yep. That's
that
right.
Her child, she going to have a baby.
Rough stuff, weird stuff, man.
Weird,
That's the
wild
Bible.
stuff. Yeah.
It goes on. Okay, they leave Egypt, right? They went up from Egypt to the Negev.
He loots the Egyptians.
He does.
Which is exactly what
He
happens in
becomes
Israel.
super rich because of this.
In Israel, when they went out,
Yeah.
looted the Egyptians.
They do.
When my son went off to college, looted me like I was an Egyptian. My goodness,
I was
that
at your
boy-
house the other day, and in your den is like empty,
It's empty.
wiped out.
When the boy went out of Egypt down to the
He took
College
your
of
couches?
Auburn, he
Yeah.
took everything.
He took your
my couch,
tables.
took my heart.
Yeah.
Let's don't talk about it. Yeah.
Have you been crying a lot this week?
Not a lot.
Just a little.
Just a little. Yeah.
Oh man, we miss you, Ethan. Another shout out to Ethan.
Yeah, man. Good.
Living it up in college. So
He's interviewing right now at the Publix.
oh man,
Man, I hope he gets that
I hope he
job.
does great. Yeah.
Crush it, Ethan.
Abram, they head up from Egypt to the Negev, back up to the Negev. They're
Yeah.
trying to get to the promised land, like
And
they're
it's
supposed to.
it's actually not here in the Hebrew, but in the Brad it says, and Sarah did not talk to him the entire way.
They didn't have a marriage counselor.
When you
did
talk
they?
about cold, buddy, that's all the way it's like. Or she may have said stuff like, here I'm out in this desert, and Pharaoh's house is pretty nice. He had all these gold and jewels and stuff. I don't know what happened, but
dude, I don't know.
how do you apologize for
How
that?
did he come back from that?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know either. He and his wife and all he had, and Lot with him. Lot's hanging out still. Abram was very rich and lifestyle. I know he was super wealthy now.
Yeah.
He had the silver and the gold. He went by stages from the Negev to Bethel, right, to the place between Bethel and Ai, where his tent had formerly been, to the site where he built the altar. And Abram called on the name of the Lord Yahweh there.
Yep. And Jacob's going to wind up in Bethel too eventually when
That's
he's
right.
running back to Laban.
Yeah.
That's where he has his dream for the ladder to heaven.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why we have the song from Led Zeppelin, Stairway to Heaven.
Stairway to Heaven, that's right.
First riff anybody learns on the guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway.
Now, Lot, who was traveling with Abram, also had flocks, herds, and tents, but the land couldn't support both of them. And so and they're quarreling. Their people are quarreling with each other.
Quarreling.
They're
Fighting.
They're feuding.
Yeah, it's a feud.
And they're going to split up, aren't they?
They are.
Yeah. Abram said to Lot, please, let's not have quarreling between you and me and between
It's
your herdsmen.
quarreling. What are you saying? Quarreling?
Quarreling?
Quarreling.
Quarreling?
I don't know. That's how I say it.
Quarreling? I don't know.
You sound like you're from Jersey there for a second.
Dude,
It's like, it was like Jemison, New Jersey.
I'm a mongrel. My mom is from Minnesota.
Oh, that's what's happening to
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. I say crayon instead of crayon.
Nobody here would even know what you were
I
asking
know
for.
it. Steph makes fun of me all the time for it.
How do you say orange?
Orange.
That's pretty close.
That's pretty good.
What about pecan?
Pecan.
Okay. You got those right.
Yeah. Actually, I've heard that the southern pecan is pecan.
That's what
pecan.
people from North Carolina or something say.
That's like, man, it's Jemison.
Pecan?
Pecan.
We say pecan.
I get them pecans.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. I grew up there, man. That's what they say.
There you go.
Lot looked out and saw that the entire plain of the Jordan was as far as Zoar, was well watered everywhere like the Lord's garden. In the land of Egypt.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Man.
He's like, oh, this is gorgeous. Gorgeous.
Yeah, it's the Lord's garden, right? The Garden of Eden. Mm-hmm. And so this was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. So Lot chose the entire. There's another.
Yeah.
There's
Look,
another
look.
flashback. It's a flashback, yeah. So Lot chose the entire plain of the Jordan for himself. Then Lot journeyed eastward, and they separated from each other. Abram lived in the land of Canaan, but Lot lived in the cities on the plain and set up his tent near Sodom.
Oh, there in the King James it says pitched his tent.
Yeah.
And the reason I remember that is many moons ago
Mm-hmm.
there was this evangelist and he preached a sermon and all I remember is him saying tilted towards tragedy he pitched his tent towards Sodom. Man, he preached it. Everybody got saved.
That's a
Even the
mouthful.
saved people got saved. We were so scared.
That was, man, sometimes like some of the older preachers,
Yeah.
Adrian Rogers did this kind
Yeah,
of stuff.
yeah.
Man, they had a way to turn phrase that was like, some of it came from the King James Bible, that they just were so versed in the King James language.
Yeah.
It was so poetic. Their preaching was so like
I think
profound.
the guy that said that was Bailey Smith.
Really?
Yeah, he had a church out, and he was the Southern Baptist president for a little bit too.
Okay, yeah.
Traveling evangelist tilted towards tragedy. He pitched his tent towards Sodom, and then he made us all think we was going to Sodom too. We were so bad.
I love that though.
Oh,
Tilted
man.
towards tragedy.
Oh yeah, yeah. He went east.
Yeah, he went east. That's
Don't
right.
do it.
Now the men of Sodom were evil, sinning immensely against the Lord. Right?
Yes.
Oh,
hey,
man.
and look, it also shows here the humility of Abram. So, this is his nephew.
Yeah.
And he gives his nephew first pick, right?
That's true.
And that's very generous.
Mm-hmm.
And then because we know he's got 318 people in his house that can throw down when they need to.
That's true.
We're about to find out
see
about that.
Yep.
So one is he gives his nephew the first choice, and to the eyes of man, Lot picked the best land. So not only did he get first choice,
Yep.
he picked the choicest choice.
Yep.
And it ends in tragedy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so Abram, in his humility, winds up prosperous, taking second choice. The point of this scripture, once again, is that it's not Abram by his own might becoming successful, but God blessing him despite what looks like the dumb choice.
Yeah, that's right. And God speaks again to Abram.
Yeah.
Right, in verse 14, the Lord Yahweh said to Abram, "Look from the place where you are. Look north and south, east and west. For I will give you and your offspring forever all the land that you see. I will make your offspring like the dust of the earth."
Oh, beautiful.
That's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Right?
And I'm one of them.
Yeah, that's
and so
right.
are you.
Yeah. So let's just praise the Lord.
Yep.
So that
right arm, left arm, turn around, sit down.
So that if anyone could count the dust of the earth, then your offspring could be counted. Get up and walk around the land through its length and width, for I will give it to you. So he moved his tent and went to live near the oaks of Mamre at Hebron.
More oaks.
Yeah, more. Yeah, it's the same one actually.
No, other one's Moreh.
Was it?
Yeah, this is Mamre. He's in a
Oh,
different
yeah,
spot.
yeah, that's
Don't
right.
you got to turn left at Moreh.
It started with an
Go
M.
south and you go to Mamre. yeah.
And he built an altar of the Lord there. So, this is kind of the setup for where the land is, in this era. And the next part is it's kind of a complex story with a lot of names. So we're just going to summarize it a little
Also,
bit.
if you notice,
Yeah, go ahead.
Jacob does this too. They build altars wherever they go.
Yeah, they do.
And that changes with the law of Moses. They don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
And so when we get to that spot, we'll have to talk about why.
Yeah, for real. So chapter 14, it's kind of like a local geopolitical nightmare, right?
It's Babylon fighting.
It is.
Because
yeah.
it says in 14, it says that they're the king of Shinar, which is Babylon.
That's right. Yeah, Shinar, this land of Shinar. That's where the Tower of Babel was, and there is a war brewing right against from Babylon and just kind of like all the kings.
It's sort of
around
like
there.
it's almost like in Greece. Back in the day, you kind of had these city-state kind
Yeah,
of things,
yeah.
and that's what it seems like was going on
Yep.
at Abraham's time. Because
Yep.
you have like the king of Zeboim, the king of Gomorrah, the king of Sodom, Shinab, the king of Admah.
Yep.
It's like each little city-state has its own little king, and they'll make alliances with each other to go fight other alliances of
Yep.
kings.
There's some wild names in here.
Yeah, I know it.
One of my favorite is Cheddar Lamar.
Chedorlaomer.
Cheddar Lamar.
My favorite name in the whole Bible is Mahir Shalal Hashbaz.
Yeah.
That is Isaiah's son,
Yeah,
Mahir
yeah.
Shalal. Quick to the booty, speedy to the prey. Mahir Shalal Hashbaz. I want to have a cat named that because cats don't come when you call them anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
What's the name of your cat? Mahir Shalal Hashbaz.
What do you call him? Mahir?
I call him Mahir.
Come Mahir.
No, I call him. I call him the whole thing. I put respect on that cat's name. Yeah.
Our cats come when we call them.
They
We go.
Oh yeah.
They come
Is that their name?
They think it is probably. They just.
They think they're gonna get food or something.
Absolutely, they
Oh
do,
yeah.
yeah.
That's this dinner time call.
100%.
My mom had two cats one time, and she let the small children that hung around our house name them, and we had two cats named Suckerhead and Fuzzy Butt. Yeah,
I like that.
it's not as good as Mahir Shalal Hashbaz.
Yeah,
but it'll
not
do.
as good.
Fuzzy Butt may be my favorite cat name of all time.
Yeah. So we got a war brewing between Babylon and some of the city states inside and surrounding the land: Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, so on and so forth. And they all came as allies.
And verse 8 says, "And the king of Bela, that is Zoar."
Yeah. Zoar.
So it's Zoar is where Lot's going to run to.
Yeah, you're right.
And it's interesting. It's got two names here. So somebody at the end is saying, hey, Bela is what we used to call it, but now we call it Zoar kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. So they came to invade, and they defeated the whole territory of the Amalekites as well as the Amorites who lived in Hazazon Tamar. Then the king of Sodom, the king of Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, and Bela, they went out and lined up for battle in the Siddim Valley against Chedorlaomer, all the Babylonian guys.
Alliance of the Kings.
Yeah, the Axis.
Yeah.
Or something, I don't know. Which one's the Allies, which one's the Axis?
They're both bad.
They're both Axis powers,
they're
aren't
both
they?
bad. Yeah.
They really are. And and they run away, right? So they get beat and they just run
Sodom
away.
and Gomorrah get whooped.
They get whooped.
Yep.
And they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their food and went on. They also took Abram's nephew Lot.
Uh-oh.
And all his possessions.
They're fixing to find out.
Yeah, because he was living in Sodom. Yep, they are about to find out.
They're about to find out.
And one of the survivors came and told Abram the Hebrew. This is the first time he's called the Hebrew.
Yeah, that's true.
Who lived near the oaks belonging to Mamre the Amorite. And when Abraham heard that his relative had been taken prisoner, he assembled his 318 trained men born in his household, and they went in pursuit as far as
studs.
Dan. Yeah,
The absolute studs. So, like,
these are his special forces.
Now, you think about this, man. You got these kings just whooped like 5 cities full of people.
Yeah.
And the guy comes to Abram's like, hey, man, there's a big fight, and everybody got whooped. And he's like, really? And they took Lot. He goes, boys, let's ride. I don't care if they did have 5 cities. Well, we're going to take 318 people and beat everybody.
I wonder how many people these other kings had.
I don't know, but
It's like
318 seems small. And I think that's the point.
Okay.
Right? So, like, later on when we get to Judges and Gideon has like 50 trillion men or whatever he's got.
Yeah.
He's got thousands, and the Lord's like, that's too many.
Mm-hmm.
See how many of them drink out of water with their hand instead of lapping like a dog. And now he's got 300 men
Yeah.
against this massive army, and he wins. So I think part of it is the point is Abram doesn't have that many men.
Yeah.
But he wins. And it's not just because
You're right.
only
Yeah.
they're studs, but God brings about deliverance through Abram.
Yep.
And Lot is blessed because of Abram.
Yep.
That's the point. Like, everybody's going to be blessed through you.
That's right.
And anybody who curses you will be cursed.
And whoever blesses you will be blessed.
Yeah.
Right.
And so
yeah, you're right. He brought all, so that all it says, he goes out with his men and they whoop them, basically.
Whoop 'em.
Defeat them. It's over. It's not like the
doesn't give us
epic battles.
It's
and
like
stuff.
in Tolkien.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not Tolkien, you never get in like you watch Peter Jackson. This is amazing battles
The
of
movies.
dwarves set
Yeah,
up
yeah.
and all that stuff,
Yeah.
and you're like, woo! If you read it, it's like from the perspective of like Pippin, and the first thing that happens, he gets knocked out. He
Yeah.
wakes up, the battle's over.
Yeah,
So we don't know how he did it.
The
here.
books, well, you watch the Lord of the Rings movies for those scenes, really.
Yeah.
You read the books.
And it's quite disappointing. Everybody, the perspectival character always gets knocked out, or a troll falls on them, or something. They can't see what's happening.
Yeah. It's not described for the most part.
Yeah.
There's some
Tolkien
stuff.
had it because he was in the trenches, man. He didn't want to talk about that
For
junk.
real. Yeah, you're right. So he brought back all the goods and all his relative Lot and also his relative Lot and his goods, as well as the women and the other people. So he rescues Lot.
He does.
And then a really neat thing
You know
happens.
why?
Why?
He liked him a lot. Oh, man. That's the
good.
worst.
After Abram returned from defeating Chedorlaomer
He whooped old Chedorlaomer. Yeah.
and all those other kings, you get another guy.
Yeah.
Melchizedek.
Is it Kizadek if you're educated? Chizadek if you're from Alabama,
Yeah, that's right.
Albertville.
He's the king of Salem.
He is.
Yeah.
The king of Salem. Sounds like Jerusalem.
It is Jerusalem.
I know it.
Isn't that neat?
I know.
This
And
is before Jerusalem. David conquers Jerusalem. Well,
Yeah.
long before that.
Long before.
But this guy seems to be on Yahweh's side.
He is.
Yeah.
His name means king of righteousness.
Yeah.
Melech is king.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's shortened like Mel can be king, like Elohim. Sometimes El
Yeah,
means. So Melchizedek or Chizedek means king of righteousness.
It's pretty cool. And so he brought out This is wild.
Yes.
If you've never read this story, if you're a Christian, but you've never really paid attention to the story, this gets weird. It's wild. He brought out bread and wine. Mm-hmm. He was a priest to God Most High. He blessed him and said, Abram is blessed by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth. And blessed be God Most High, who has handed over your enemies to you. And Abram gave him a tenth of everything.
Yeah, he tithed to Melchizedek. Yeah. Well, we say tithed, but he gave him a
that's
tenth.
what tithe means.
That's where
Yeah,
tithe comes
yeah.
from. And for all time, you have to give us a tenth. So send it right in if you're loving this so much. The New Covenant Baptist Church.
His seed of faith.
Don't. You may not get nothing back in this life. We're just going to tell you right now. And things might get worse for you. We don't know.
That's true.
We can't guarantee nothing.
So Melchizedek is kind of unmentioned for the rest of the Old Testament, except for in the Psalms once or twice.
He comes out of nowhere, goes back into nowhere.
Yep, and then in the New Testament, he's brought back up again,
A lot.
and several times as this typology of who Jesus is, right? Priest king,
Yes.
because that's what he does here. He is a priest
And
to
king.
God and king, and so that he's a type. He's like the prototype of Jesus in a lot of
Yep.
ways.
And God promises in the Psalms,
Yep.
not in New Testament, that the Messiah would be a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek.
Yep.
And I'm totally blanking on which psalm it is, but it's the most quoted Old Testament passage in the New Testament.
Yep, that's right. So that's a big deal. Here's another interesting big deal is just the idea that God is doing something. He's working through people outside of Israel
Yes.
in this time period.
Oh, absolutely. And it pops up again even when they get back from exile with this
Yeah.
maybe the most famous messianic prophet, like a prophet who prophesies specifically about the Messiah, is not Jewish.
Yeah.
It's Balaam.
That's right.
This dude who can be bought.
Yeah.
But God speaks through him several times.
Yeah.
And even makes his donkey talk to him.
Yep.
Which is wild.
That is wild. I don't know what all that means. We don't get the story of Melchizedek. You know, it's not like
No.
that's included in scriptures.
Not
the people
having
he
that-
ministered to.
In
and-
fact,
yeah.
the writer of Hebrews picks up on that.
Yeah.
Not having any mention is part of his clout.
yeah.
That he has no genealogy, no beginning, no end, is what he's talking about in
I know.
Hebrews.
When you get in Hebrews, there's like this tiny sliver. You're like, man, Melchizedek might have been
Jesus.
pre-incarnate
So we have
Jesus.
these.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
It's not theophanies. Christophanies.
Yeah.
Possible Old Testament appearances of Jesus.
Yeah.
And so they're not without merit.
There's a couple of them. This is one of
Jacob
them.
wrestling with the quote angel.
Yep.
There, and he says, "I've seen the face of God."
The angel of the Lord, period, in the Old Testament.
True.
When you see the angel
Yeah.
of the Lord, it's like it's usually a heightened presence.
And it's
That's-
the angel of Yahweh.
Angel of Yahweh.
An angel can mean messenger.
Yep.
It's not just like a
Spiritual
race
being.
or right.
And so it's sometimes those moments are like that's a little bit higher than I would expect, and just a servant to be. And the angel of the Lord sometimes speaks as God in the Old
It's
Testament.
fixing to happen to Abraham, in fact.
Yeah, and
When,
so
the
another
judgment.
example of this, what's a couple of these Christophanies, Daniel in the furnace,
Who's
like
the fourth man in the fire, baby?
the fourth man in the fire, right?
Ooh.
That's a lot of people look at that
Could
and say
be
that's
Jesus.
probably a Christophany.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Jesus was, of course, always existed before his incarnation.
Well, he wasn't Jesus. Yeah, he was just Son of God.
Just the Son. Yeah,
yeah.
we can call him
Just.
Jesus. I can call him Jesus.
Yeah, that's how I know him.
Yeah, He's-
It's like Gandalf
Jesus.
the Grey.
Well, Jesus isn't even really his name.
What?
Oh, I know. Isn't that upsetting?
Don't even start that. Don't even.
It's true.
It's Jesus.
Yeah,
That's
it's-
what the Spanish people say.
Yeah.
His name is Joshua.
Yeah.
Joshua is the name of Jesus.
Yeshua.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Joshua.
But there's no J sound.
No.
That's so it's Yeshua.
Yeah.
And it's just we have to go
Well,
through
we
this.
say
like,
there's no J sound, but we don't really know way back then
yeah.
because whatever Moses wrote this in is not what they were talking anyway.
Yeah.
At that moment.
In first century though.
Yeah, first century for
With-
sure.
with
No,
Yesh-
I was talking
yeah.
about like when Joshua was
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
going in. We don't know how they said his
We
name.
really don't.
Joshua may not have been his name.
That's the problem of a dead language is that we know how to read it.
We know how to read it.
We don't always know pronunciations. We can read it.
Because,
Yeah.
like, I went to a place called Nicaragua.
Yeah.
It's a land of lakes and volcanoes.
Yeah.
And they don't say yo quiero. They say yo.
Yeah.
Like the Y's or J's.
Yeah.
So they have a local accent.
Yeah.
And I have heard that, like in the South, you might have somebody saying pecan instead of pecan.
Is that right?
So we don't know how they. But if it's
Yeah.
just written out, you never would know.
There's like this funny little debate with Greek. There's 2 O sounds in the Greek alphabet. There's Omicron and Omega. And no one knows which one is and O in certain places.
Some people think they know.
I think I know.
You know, you have the secret mystery.
I just had a Greek professor who was like super certain. And I was like, I'm just going to absorb your certainty.
Yeah,
on that.
that's what we do. And then you hit about 50 and you're like, wait a minute.
It's kind of funny. It's just one of those realities like, same with like Melchizedek. There's some pronunciation. We just
Augustine.
Augustine. Yeah,
Constantine.
Yeah.
Nobody says that nonsense.
No one says
Every
that.
time somebody goes, it must be Augustine. I say, oh, okay. So is it
Constantine.
Emperor Constantine?
That's so funny. All right, so Melchizedek is here, and he's doing the Lord's Supper, and
He is doing the Lord's
He's
Supper.
got the bread and wine out,
know
man. And he might be Jesus. I don't know.
He might be. We
It's
weren't
possible.
there. It's possible.
It's like not a 0% chance.
It's not zero.
It's definitely not zero.
So when we get to heaven, it was like, okay, who was Melchizedek?
When you get to Hebrews, it's like it raises up to about 50%.
50%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you get to heaven, it's like, so Jesus, was that you? And he'd be like, yeah. He'd be like, I knew it.
Yeah, I got you.
Knew it the whole time. I saw
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
And so Abram saves Lot, and he tithes to Melchizedek. That's another weird thing is that he's offering to Melchizedek straight to him, like giving him the money, receiving his blessing.
Yeah.
Right. This is just another layer to that whole deal.
Oh, and so the other thing Melchizedek does, he blesses Abram. The only other person we see doing that really is God.
Yeah.
And it's almost the
So
same
far,
blessing.
It's the only time anyone's been blessed.
It's
That's
from
how
God.
it happens. It's from God.
And God, and we learn in verse 20, he didn't do it just because the 318 was so boss. It says, God delivered your enemies into your hand.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's some trust in chariots, but we'll trust in the name of the Lord our God. Very boss. But what I was going to say is that Abram's response to the king of Sodom is one of the most boss things in the whole Bible.
All right. Explain.
So we know that Abram came upon this battle. Sodom and Gomorrah and all their buddies have already run away, tails tucked, and they've lost everything.
Yeah.
They got looted, right? The victor goes the spoils, right? Abram comes in, whoops those guys, and he takes all the stuff that they took, including Lot. So the king of Sodom shows up, and he says, give the people to me and take the goods for yourself. So he's like, hey, give me my folks back. Because back then, folks got enslaved.
Yeah.
Right? And he's like, let me have my people. And you can keep the stuff. Like he's got any place to demand anything at this point. But anyway, Abram looks at him and says, I have sworn by Yahweh, God Most High. This is a big deal. We've never seen Yahweh El Elyon, the God Most High. He uses every name he knows.
Yeah,
right?
he does. Creator of heaven and earth.
I have sworn to Yahweh, God Most High, possessor of heaven and earth, that I will not take a thread of a sandal or thong. Or a sandal thong. Sorry, they didn't have no thongs back then. He says, I will not take a thread or a sandal thong or anything that's yours, for fear you would say, I made Abram rich. Ooh.
Man.
And that is, again, this shows Abram's, first of all, his faith, right?
Yeah.
He knew if he kept the stuff that this trash talker king of Sodom would go around and be like, yeah, Abram's rich because he took all my stuff.
Yeah.
Right? He took all my stuff. And so he's rich because of me. Abram wasn't having it. And second, he probably knows the king of Sodom's a creep.
Yeah, he is. Big time.
The whole place is corrupt. He's like, I'm not taking anything from you. He said, my boys that came with me, they're getting their share. But you can have the rest. I'm not taking nothing from you. That is awesome. And then in the next chapter, he's scared to death.
That is true.
Because he's made everybody mad. So
he has.
Yeah, so he whooped the other city-states, right? And then he insults the king of Sodom.
Yeah.
And Harry's sitting over here by the oaks of Mamre going, oh, man.
Yeah. And I think that's where we'll probably land the plane for right now.
Yeah.
And to set up for chapter...
Oh, that's a good cliffhanger.
Chapter 15 is a big one. It's one, another one of those big important ones.
Chapter 15 of Genesis may be... Oh, man. It's so... I'm my most favorite spot is normally where I'm reading.
I know.
But, like, as far as my personal, like, touchstones of understanding, Genesis 15 might be, like, top.
You get such a huge
to understand
reveal.
what it means to be saved by grace through faith.
Yeah, yeah.
It is foundational. Genesis 15 is foundational.
All right, don't go too far. Don't go too far. Here we go. Save it for next week.
Reel it in. Reel it in.
So let's sum it up.
He saw that look in my eye I get when I preach on Sunday morning or something. He's like, oh, he's fixing to go off.
He's about to
stop
start preaching.
Stab him.
Yeah. Stop preaching.
Stop it.
All right. Let's sum it up. What's the big deal about Abram? What's the big deal about this whole beginning narrative of the story of Abram, Brad? How would you sum it up?
So he comes out of nowhere.
Yep.
Not chosen based on any mighty deeds or even inherent goodness. God just picks him. Actually, we know that he picked him because he's the descendant of Shem and he's the descendant of Seth, and the promise is still on.
Yeah.
We're still looking for the guy who's going to crush the head of Satan.
Yeah.
Right? So that's part of it. But why he chose Abram over others, unknown.
Yeah.
Abram becomes a prototype in the narrative of what will happen to his descendants after him. He is called out of a land to go into the land of promise. He is tried and tested along the way and often fails, in fact. But God continues to bless him. And whatever he does is blessed.
Yeah.
And so that's where we are now.
Yeah.
And we're going to find out in 15 how you get to be a son of Abram.
Yeah.
And it's not reckoned by physical descent. And that is a big deal, which we should already know that. But one of the main themes of Genesis and the Torah in general is that God does not simply select the one you think he would. And it's not always order of priority of birth or even common descent.
Yeah.
It's a lot of times it's the youngest, which in those days you would think the oldest would be the inheritor.
Yeah.
That's not the case. It's the child of promise. So how do you get to be that child? It's a super important question.
I want to be a child of Abraham.
I want to be. Yeah. And I am. I am one of those dust motes that he talked about.
That's right. So am I.
So are you? Let's just praise the Lord.
Let's just praise the Lord.
Yeah. Abraham has no stepchildren.
That's right.
Yep.
That's a good way to put it. Well, that is the big deal about the beginning narrative of Abram. Okay, next week we'll kind of see, really like it's part 2 of the Abraham saga.
Yeah,
and we'll do that next week. I hope this was helpful for you. Again, if you are watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe.
Do it.
If you are on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please click follow.
Do it. I'm saying it like the Emperor in Star Wars. Do it. Do it.
Unlimited power. Thanks for listening, everyone, to the Big Deal Podcast. Send it to your friends and your family and your neighbors and your acquaintances and even strangers. That's fun, too.
And especially if you hate it.
Yeah.
Like, listen to this garbage.
Comment on it.
Yeah.
Tell us all the things you hate about the things coming out of our mouth. Okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, man. We're awful. We should hear about it.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye.